No starters today for the Arizona Cardinals or the Denver Broncos, but there's a ton to play for tonight in Denver between the Broncos and Cards. Isn't that right, Johnny Venerable?
Absolutely. It's a rookie showcase. Can guys like Jordan Burch, Denzel Burke, Will Johnson step up against Sean Payton's Bronco offense? We'll find out. PHNX Cardinals starts now. Hey, welcome in. Live from Studio K, presented by our friends at Circle K. It's the PHNX Cardinals podcast, your premier, #1 Arizona Cardinal podcast. Like and subscribe. It's a preseason pregame show. I'm Johnny Venerable. He's Brack. Noah Man behind the mic. We are remote as we continue to refine our premier, pristine studio, that being Studio K of the future. But tonight we break down a preseason game without starters, Bo, as you mentioned in the cold open, but still a lot of intrigue ahead of the final fight for 53.
Yeah, I mean, these are the guys that their roster spots are on the line. Who's going to win a job tonight? Who's going to make the case to be an Arizona Cardinal in 2025? You've certainly got guys that I think are going to play large roles on this team. You're not going to see the guys going to take field first, but we know about, especially on the defensive side, Johnny, you got rotations all over the place, and you got guys who can really kind of establish themselves as players for this team, and you got guys who are fringe roster types that can make this team, and then you got guys who are fighting for some sort of job within the organization, looking at like Clayton Tune, looking at Hayden Connor, but mostly, like you said, Denzel Burke, guys who are just kind of cutting their teeth in this league. What can they do in their second professional game?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. The Cardinals opting not to play a large majority of their starters, veteran starters, which opens up the door, I think, for a lot of young players. We're going to talk about them. Xavier Weaver, Jordan Burch. What are you supposed to make of what happened to DJ Dallas a week ago? Can somebody else step up? Amari DiMercato getting an additional opportunity to showcase here. And, of course, Bo, you mentioned it, Jacoby Brissett, the backup quarterback who was so steady last week, 2 touchdown passes. I mean, what can he do against this Denver Bronco defense that we saw firsthand, loaded with Vance Joseph? So let's jump right into it. It's the Bird Gang Blitz on a pregame show. Get your super chats in now. Hammer the like button. Of course, the goal for any pregame show is 500 likes on a football Saturday night. And speaking of football, this young man was balling out last week. Can he continue? The first topic of conversation on the Bird Gang Blitz pregame show, Dream Weaver rising. Xavier Weaver, can the undrafted Colorado wide receiver continue to etch himself not only as a part of this 53-man roster, but, Bo, a fixture of a wide receiving room that's lacking top-end speed? Uh-oh, Bo, we lose you? I think we lost my guy, Bo Brack. That's all right. So, again, Xavier Weaver, when we talk about this Cardinals receiving core, when you're put in a position like Monty Ossenford, like Kyler Murray, when you look at Marvin Harrison Jr., what he brings to the equation, Xavier Weaver, at the end of the day, has an opportunity to provide something the rest of this receiving core does not. That's top-end speed. That's legitimate 4.3 speed. And if the Cardinals, listen, we were at joint practices this week. We broke it down on our Friday show. They are having trouble with the big play again. They are having trouble in the red zone. This is a young man, if he can refine his route running, if he can give you a little bit of yak ability, that he can take the top off the defense. Can he be a poor man's John Brown once upon a time? It's something they don't currently have. And it's something, listen, at the end of the day, this fan base was clamoring for in the offseason. I mean, no, when we break it down, people wanted this team to go after T. Higgins, straight line burner, tremendous route runner, big time receiver, trade for T. Higgins, go after Christian Kirk. Houston gave up a ham sandwich. They took on his salary. I think they're going to benefit from it. There was a big part of this fan base. And it wasn't necessarily a knock on the guys that they had, like Michael Wilson, like Marvin, but it was basically asking, what can we do to differentiate and evolve an offense that feels very methodical? Yes, but the margin for error with this unit is minimal because not a ton of players that we've seen, and I'll include Marvin this yet, has shown the big play yak ability, the big play front end speed. So if Xavier Weaver can do what he did last week, separate from 2s and 3s, making plays with Jacoby Brissett, he's able to do that for this Cardinal team that's desperate for that. Like at what point do you just throw him out there and say, Kyler Murray, we're going to have a bunch of plays in a package for the undrafted Colorado wideout, Bo?
Yeah, even if it's telegraphing things a little bit, it's a guy that's got a skill set that you don't see a whole lot of in this receiving room. And Xavier Weaver, I think, showed off his ability not to do it, go one-on-one against, some cornerbacks, but that speed made, a cornerback for the Chiefs get out of his technique and also just try to make sure that Weaver didn't make a bigger play on him and pulled the deep guys. So the full bag of tricks were on display from Xavier Weaver that, showed a big-time jump for a guy that played sparingly in year one. You would expect that he's going to get this opportunity. I think he can kind of solidify that with another performance tonight. Yeah.
Again, what a coup for Monty Ossenford when you look at the undrafted free agent class of a year ago. DeMercado 2 years ago. Last year, Xavier Weaver. And then this year, perfect transition. Does another undrafted free agent on the defensive side make headway? It's Elijah Simmons. Elijah Simmons. Can Simmons seize a job, Bo Brack? No Bilal Nichols. We saw him at joint practice. He was walking around, looked fine. I have not seen Justin Jones in weeks. He hasn't practiced. He's got knee inflammation, swelling, soreness, whatever you want to call it. Then there's number 96, who's out there every day. He's out there with mixing it up with Darius and Calais and Dante Stills and LJ Collier. And again, is he a refined finished product? Absolutely not. But is he somebody at the end of the day that you can count on to come in and be a contributor? Because I'm going to tell you right now, a lot went right at joint practice. Some things went wrong. One of the things that looked really good on display on Thursday that I expect to carry over tonight, the Cardinals' run defense for their first, second, and third team defenses looked outstanding, and Simmons was right there in the mix, Bo.
Yeah, it's a bit of a calling card, I think, now for the Nick Rowell and his defense up front. Now that he's got the bodies, the personnel to do so, they're going to be a team that's really going to be a bully in the run game. And you have to really like that type of identity. I like, as far as Elijah Simmons goes, this is the Simmons this time around, and it's in the form of an undrafted rookie free agent that fills a need on your defensive line. And due to some guys not being available, his opportunity, man, it's never been bigger. Like, we didn't expect this guy to be able to crack this roster with just the depth that they had at defensive line. Elijah Simmons, man, he's right there. And I think another strong performance. You'll see that. You'll see that the voice of an angel, but also like the physicality of Fletcher Cox. Like, he's going to be able to maybe make this roster like the sixth man on the defensive line.
I think we saw him after practice on Thursday, the Cardinals and the Broncos, but the Cardinals did it first because they had wrapped up practice and were walking to these food trucks to get food, well-deserved after practice, probably before they go and watch film. And I'm pretty sure I saw Elijah Simmons singing to himself walking down the hill, going to get his food at the food truck, which was one of the most wholesome things I've frankly ever seen. And I want to keep those vibes going. So I'm excited to watch him. Again, nothing stood out last week in terms of splash plays. His PFF grade was fine. It was solid.
Yeah.
But again, this is a developmental piece. And also, like, you think about this, Bo. Walter Nolan banged up, could not be ready for the opener. Dalvin Tomlinson has a little bit of knee soreness. He'll be back. I think he's going to practice this week, but it's like, I'm sorry, like, give me a nose tackle that's healthy right now. Give me a nose tackle that's cheap, that's available. And so is Justin Jones a better player than Elijah Simmons, like, at their best? Yeah, for sure. But Justin Jones hasn't been healthy. I haven't seen Justin Jones. Bilal Nichols hasn't practiced in almost a year. Those guys, in my opinion, can't put them higher on the depth chart as a result. Like Justin Jones, wouldn't you say, Bo, like, this upcoming week, it's pretty critical for the veteran.
I don't even know what he can prove potentially in a preseason game. I mean, this
Yeah.
is a tough time for Jones and Bilal Nichols, and as I kind of alluded to last week, and it's just speculation, but like, could these guys benefit as far as their Cardinals career by not being ready to start the season? Like, could they hang on by being injured and then, have the guys and then maybe buy themselves some times for maybe an opportunity opens up? Because right now they just have not been available. So I just don't know what position, what role they could fill. Like what JG said the last week, and he's been pretty consistent with it. Like roles are being identified. If you're not playing this week, like you're going to call yourself a role for week 1 or to start this season by having non-participated in training camp and 2/3 of the preseason. I think that's pretty far-fetched now. It's really unfortunate. So I think your best bet would be to hang on and get as healthy as possible. And maybe, as happens in football all the time, like injuries happen and opportunities arise.
Let's keep that same energy. Next topic here on the Burgang Blitz pregame show. Is this the last stand for many members of the 2024 free agent class? So we alluded to it with Justin Jones. Bo, you put it well. What's your role? And I think if you're DJ Dallas, you have one job, and it's to return kicks. You absolutely cannot put the ball on the ground tonight. I think DJ Dallas is safe if he looks solid returning the football tonight, assuming he dresses, which I would guess specialists are going to dress tonight. I don't think DJ Dallas feels good about what he did last week. If he puts the ball on the turf tonight, you can't trust him for week 1. You have to have a conversation about that. It's as cut and dry as that. This is a performance business. If you go out there and perform, we'll act like last week never happened. But again, it's not somebody that's a viable option carrying the football. We've established that. And then, you look at the rest of this group, Bilal Nichols, Justin Jones, we've alluded to. Like, can you imagine, if you're both of those players, specifically Bilal Nichols, and you were signed by Austin Ford and you were brought in, and you've been with the organization now for 2 off seasons, your second season, and you've barely played. That's really, you can't argue. There's no defense. It's defenseless to making a claim for these guys outside of their salary. And if you're head coach Jonathan Gannon and you're Nick Rawless and you're sitting there in your coaches meetings and anybody brings up, well, we got to keep that guy because he makes X amount of money, then you're not trying to put the best team on the field. Like the only way that this is feasible, Bo, to your point, is if they come out and say, like, we're going to stash these guys. And then if they can come back and maybe we need the depth, that'll work out. But I don't see a scenario, certainly where Bilal Nichols is on this roster actively for the 53. And I'm leaning toward Justin Jones as well.
Yeah, it's like we kind of outline. It's about as uphill of a climb as you can find in the NFL as far as trying to scratch and claw for roster spot. DJ Dallas, I agree with you. I think we've seen what a bad special teams can do to a good team. Like we saw it too often with Bruce Arians in the Cardinals here at the end of the BA era. I mean, what was it? Amos Jones and his special teams that continue to let this team down. Like how it can just torpedo what you're trying to accomplish when you've got, solid offense and defense. That third phase is so it's so pivotal. And Monty Osfort knows that. Jonathan Gannon knows that. And if they feel like we're not set here as far as the guy just being able to field the football, oh boy, they would absolutely, I don't think they would hesitate to pivot. But, DJ Dallas has a career resume of being able to do this. I think it's like, okay, let's maybe it was the first game jitters or who knows what it was, but got to get it out of your system because there's no appetite for it on the coaching staff.
Right, hammer that like button, a little light on the likes. Not trying to complain. Let's get those likes up. Help your boys out. Get some likes. Hit it on a pregame show. Last topic of discussion here on the Burgang Blitz. I think we got 2 more. Let's do a little pass rush specialist here. Jordan Burch, the 3rd rounder last week. I want to say like seemingly came out of nowhere, Bo, but like I didn't see this happening. Camp's always difficult because they're not going live 100%. Certainly you're not taking people to the ground. Jordan Burch with 2 should have been sacks last week against Kansas City against their backup tackles. Then you saw this week, and people pointed this out, and good call. He was practicing with the ones at times and rotating in with Baron Browning. and Zaven Collins and then Josh Sweat, on the opposite side, I think it's all in front of number 52. I think that Baron Browning, specialist, gets pressures. That's great. No disrespect on him. Like, Burch is everything. Baron Browning is not. He's somebody that I think, with what we saw last week, has a chance to really be a power edge rusher that can get you sacks and bunches. Whereas Baron Browning, a little bit longer right length is his specialty. This is just a mountain of a man that you look at him and you're like, are we sure he's an edge rusher? Is he a 3 technique? Is he a 5 technique? But, I mean, it's probably one of the biggest bright spots, Bo, come out last week.
Yeah, you have to love what they got in the 3rd round out of Oregon, and you can thank me for making it happen by maybe telegraphing the Cardinals also in that situation, and Carolina just taking him off the board. But Jordan Burch, it's not just about getting to the quarterback. JG was very complimentary of how he did in the run game, how he's establishing edges. I think a guy like Jordan Burch, he's already, if he didn't already start ahead of Xavier Thomas, he's firmly ahead of him. And I don't think it's like a Baron Browning versus Jordan Burch situation at all. I think it's like it's Coke or Dr. Pepper. It's what's your favorite flavor here of soda? I mean, I like what Baron Browning's skill set is. It's different than Jordan Burch. You've got Zaven Collins, you've got Josh Sweat, and that's your rotation that you can, that you feel comfortable with going forward, and you don't have to worry about when's BJ Ojulari going to get back here. Like, could Burch be somebody, even though he's around later, could he be a guy that does a lot of what we've waited, patiently or impatiently to see from the former SU product in Ojulari?
Yeah, Jordan Burch was a staple of that Oregon Ducks defense in terms of his ability to get tackles for loss. His sack numbers were good. Remember, he was at South Carolina, I think, for 2 or 3 seasons. He came out, he was an older player. So he's in college football, I want to say, for 5 years. So the Cardinals have done this a lot with their rookies, like Denzel Burke, like some of these guys, Tip Ryman, Isaiah Adams, are older players. You don't know what their ceiling is, but you feel like you have a pretty good idea of their floor. And this is a kid that maybe we should have saw this coming. 11 tackles for loss last year, 8.5 sacks in 10 games. Think about that. He averaged over a TFL per game and almost a sack per game for Oregon last year. So I think I underestimated how quick he was going to be able to make this jump. I watched him in drills, and he looked good. But, did I, what we talk about with eventually Walter Nolan, hopefully, but, certainly Will Johnson. I mean, I think Jordan Burch is kind of doing what I assumed Cody Simon would do. Maybe it's not fair for Cody because they don't run as much 2 linebacker sets, and it's just been Mack Wilson gobbling up all the snaps. But Jordan Burch is basically declaring to the defensive line, this is a group that has been vulnerable in the past. They got rid of a lot of players. I'm here. I don't care what's happened in the past. I'm going to go and get mine. And so, I mean, what happens if he comes out and has a couple more sacks tonight? I think then you really you're looking at week 1 against New Orleans. It's does this kid get first team snaps? If we're second and third quarter and you see number 52, you can't be surprised if he performs tonight.
No, I think that I think, it goes back to if Jordan Burch is going to be on the team, he's going to be active on Sunday, he's going to play. He profiles differently than a lot of the guys in that room. He's an outside linebacker in Nick Rallis and Jonathan Gannon's scheme. But man, is he different. Think about Zaven Collins and Baron Browning and Josh Sweat. What are they all about? Anything from 6'4" to 260 pounds. Jordan Burch is 290 pounds, man. He's carrying around 30 extra pounds of weight at 6'5". He's got a lot of weight to throw around on those tackles, and he's lighter on his feet too, just like his position mates, man. He's just kind of not a full-on unicorn, but a bit of a unicorn that like you said, you can cross-train him, you can play a little D-line. But man, is he going to be a force, I think, at the outside linebacker that was very diverse that you have to like.
Yeah, I mean, the defense has budding young stars. The offense, I mean, it's set. We know who's playing. We know who's not. We know who's in, the first team unit. What about the third team unit, specifically with Clayton Tune? Are we on the verge of watching Clayton Tune's second to last performance as an Arizona Cardinal? I am hopeful that we get Jacoby Brissett for the entire first half tonight. I think that's what's going to happen. I don't know if I can stomach, which just seems disrespectful, 3/4 of the Tune squad. Because he was not good last week. Didn't look particularly great against Denver in the joint practice. I want to see Jacoby Brissett finish the half. I think that's realistic. and then Clayton Tune in the second half with some other guys trying to compete. We all know, or most of us know, like, he's not making this 53-man roster, right? They tried to, kind of put him off to the side with Desmond Ridder last year. But now it's like, is Clayton Tune practice squad worthy? Is this a guy? And again, this might come off as disrespectful, but I've made this argument consistently. If you lost Kyler Murray for a prolonged period of time and Jacoby Brissett is starting, are you okay with now Jacoby Brissett one snap away, you're going to Clayton Tune? I'm not comfortable with that. I don't think the Cardinals should be either. But again, rosters can change. You can manipulate things. I think Clayton Tune, I think it's 50-50 whether or not they keep him around on the practice squad. I understand you want the continuity. He knows the playbook, but I'm watching some of these other guys around the NFL. It's like, give me somebody with a little bit more juice, a little bit more upside, and certainly a little bit more experience. Because right now, at the way we're going, like, the Cardinals are going to have to add a quarterback eventually down the line anyway. I think this story is about done, in my opinion.
Yeah, it does come down to, like, are you somebody going to become available that you can get in, you can get up to speed on the offense? Because, like, if they're similar, they're not just going to make a change to make a change, but it's inevitable, I think, a parting of ways at some point during this season for Cardinals and Clayton Tune. I just don't see a future for the former fifth rounder going forward. He's been given his opportunities, especially at this time of year. You just haven't been impressed. He came out and threw a bad pick to start 2025 preseason, and that was the wrong kind of tone to set, unfortunately.
So, it is unfortunate. Now, again, Clayton's been a soldier. He's been a great teammate. He was thrust into a really kind of unwinnable situation, certainly 2 years ago, playing at Cleveland. I mean, they're just the Cardinals are in a position where if somebody were to go down, I see it in the chat. People are saying if Kyler goes down, the season's over. I agree with that, but I think, like, Kyler could miss a game or two, and Jacoby Brissett's capable of winning you those games. But again, who's backing up Jacoby Brissett in those situations? I just think go get a Tyler Snoop Huntley, go get somebody else that can come in here and work with this unit on the practice squad. But the problem is a lot of those guys are probably on the active roster. So that is our breakdown. Yeah, Johnny's tuned out. I feel a little bit tuned out. I'm a little bit tuned out. And again,
you've been tuned out for a while.
Yeah. Tune it down. Tone it down. Tune it down. All the puns, all the acronyms, we've exhausted them. Everybody hit that like button. You haven't exhausted the like button here on a football pregame show. It's the Cardinals kicking off in just under 5 minutes. Before we get to kickoff, we hit a little tasty parlay, Brack, as you were at the stadium last week. We're running it back this week with our friends at Bet365. Never ordinary. It's Johnny's pregame picks. I have not vetted them with Brack. He's going to take me to the woodshed if he doesn't approve. But why differ if something's working for you? How about this pregame parlay? Again, we're not going to get nuts. We're not going to get gross. We're not talking about player props in a preseason game. Just a little simple money line. Cardinals dub under 38.5 points. I took the dub last week for the Cardinals. I took the money line. Never a doubt. Never sweated it for a second. Loved it. That was plus 310 last week with our friends at Bet365. Now you get plus 340. I think, if Clayton Tune plays in the second half, I don't think the Cardinals are going to score a lot of points. So that's my rationale for the under. And then I like the Cardinals defense to bounce back after a little bit of an uneven day in their secondary on Thursday, albeit that was against Bo Nix. And so I would love to see the Cardinals, now that they've got some experience in Denver, you're not sucking air with the altitude potentially. I would love to see them come out and have a really nice defensive performance that was really kind of robbed from them early in that game last week because of the turnovers, Bo.
Yeah, it was. You're going to have to – you want to see the defense just continue to have solid performance after solid performance and kind of show its depth. And then on offense, just guys emerge that you might be able to if things go awry and it's the continuity, the chemistry thing out there, guys, you feel like, okay, let's shift some things around. And these guys earned an opportunity, a spot. So who can that be? We talked about Xavier Weaver. We'll see like who else as far as wide receivers are. It's pretty thin beyond that. So maybe guys can make some plays tonight. Tajon Palmer, look for 83 out there. Is that somebody that can continue to stick with this organization? make a case for himself after being drafted by Monty in 2024.
One item we didn't talk about that I think bears repeating, or discussion, I should say, during this pregame show is the young cornerback group. No Max Melton tonight. No Garrett Williams. I think Will Johnson will play. Denzel Burke's going to be out there. Elijah Jones is going to be out there. Keitrell Clark. What are you looking for, Bo, from that group right now where there's a lot of movement? Darren Hall looked good last week. Should have had 2 interceptions. Like Keitrell Clark, to me, probably the most vulnerable, just based on the fact that Elijah Jones carries with him a 3rd round, selection.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you want to see Elijah Jones make some plays. You don't want to see him be picked apart by, Jared Stidham, who's had a fantastic camp for the Broncos, or, is it Ellinger, who's behind him? Like, make some plays against these guys. So you definitely need to see that. And then did you see this before the game? Like Chad Ryland has 72-yarder.
I saw that. Yeah.
Unbelievable. The thin air there. He is. So you feel a little bit even more comfortable about the changing of the kicker guard.
Let's take a look quickly. We broke it down on yesterday's show. Here's our game previewed for tonight. Healthy scratches. We'll see. Most of the starters, according to folks in attendance, are not participating. And again, most to gain: Xavier Weaver, Elijah Simmons, Darren Hall. How about Xavier Thomas? Again, 2nd-year linebacker. Keaton Crawford, the 7th round safety with an interception last week. And then we mentioned all 4 of these individuals here on the pregame show. Most to perform: Keitrell Clark, Elijah Jones, Clayton Tune, Hayden Connor. Hayden Connor, rough go last week. Do a lot for him. If he and Josh Fryer in particular are able to keep, the likes of Clayton Tune and maybe Jacoby Brissett upright, that would be helpful. But the second team offensive line, let's see if they can gel a little bit faster this week. Any final thoughts, Bo, as we get ready for kickoff here on a pregame show?
Yeah, I mean, I'm seeing it in the chat. The second team, third team offensive line, you want to see better protection, and this is going to be a chance to do that because we know there's depth in the start of the Broncos. But overall, operationally, you want to be sound and you want to continue to be a disciplined team. And let's see some turnovers. I love to see them force some turnovers defensively, and that kind of set the tone for the rest of this going into the season.
How about this, Bees? $2 super chat. Thank you, Bees. I want Tip to run some MFers go routes tonight. How about that? Maybe we'll finally get an explosive, and it'll come in the form of number 87, Tip Ryman. I wouldn't hold your breath, but maybe he'll lay somebody out on special teams. He did that.
Does he run routes that would be explosives?
I think he would have to break infinite tackles for that to happen. Most of his routes are about 5 to 6 yards of depth, and then
we love that.
Falls on somebody like a big tree. We're going to be back. So programming note for everybody here, we're going to do our traditional halftime show. And then to spare you guys watching 4th quarter preseason football, we're going to go live with our faux default post-game show immediately following the 3rd quarter. So it will be a watch-along 3rd quarter post-game show kickoff with Bo, myself, and Noah. We're going to break down the first half, the 3rd quarter, while watching simultaneously the 4th quarter and the ramifications to come. So again, a little bit of a programming note. Tony B, $4.99. Shaft, I've been responding in the chat. Not sure if you can't see him for some reason. I DM'd you on Twitter about the league. Again, contact Shaft about the Die Hard Fantasy Football League. We want to see everybody out of Gila on August 28th. Man, oh man, kickoff is here. We're back at halftime. Big thanks to everybody in attendance. Drop a like. For Bo and Noah, I'm Johnny. We'll see you in a bit. Enjoy the game.
We all silly like the mayor.